Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Todd Palmer. Hey, Todd, how are you?
Cesar, I am outstanding. I'm really happy to be with you this morning.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. So let me give them a little bit about your background, and then you can dive into that. Todd Palmer is an executive coach and longtime CEO who is committed to supporting entrepreneurs. He believes that an entrepreneur alone is an entrepreneur at risk. You have gone from being $600,000 in debt to being debt-free and making the Inc. 5,000 6 times over your time. And you have a second book coming out in the next couple of months, which is pretty awesome. So tell me more about you. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on with you, and you have a huge story behind that. So let's talk about some of the things that you have accomplished in the last couple of years.
Well, the last couple of years, like for a lot of entrepreneurs, have been really, really interesting. And so March of 2020, I was scheduled to be speaking around the globe. I was going to be on 6 different stages in 3 different countries, talking to audiences of entrepreneurs and business leaders. And it's part of the model for a coach is to get on stage and speak in front of an audience, and someone in the audience, just like being on a podcast, your message may land with them and they want to engage you for conversation. That conversation leads to a call, and that call could potentially lead to a new client engagement. So we were crushing it. I actually had a booking agent. They were putting me everywhere. It was going really, really well. And then something happened to my business, not because of me, but because of external factors I could not control. And the pandemic shut all stages down for everyone. So certainly I don't want anybody to think I'm playing the victim card in this. I know there are people who had it much worse than I did. And so what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to double down and pivot on why I really coach, why I really spoke. And for me, it's work. It harkens back to work I did 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I met a guy named Simon Sinek, and he worked with me to help me figure out my why. And my why over 2 years, crafted, polished, adjusted, and changed, came into 2 words, and that's improve lives. So after I lost my stages, had the tough conversation with my booking agency, let them know that I couldn't continue to pay them. I thought, where else can I go to improve lives? So over 67 days, I spoke with 42 CEOs and groups of CEOs and entrepreneurs around the globe on virtual webinars. I upped my podcast appearance game, and I just started volunteering my time. I saw it as an opportunity to be a servant leader, and through servant leadership, it was my time to give to others, not to sell. And from there, it was transformative for my business and for me. I literally spoke in parts of the world that I'd never heard of. I had to wake up one day at midnight East Coast time to go speak in Malaysia. I thought, how cool is this? And they were so appreciative that someone from the US would take the time and get up in the middle of the night to talk to them. And what I got was an incredible outpouring of appreciation and gratitude from the audiences and from the CEOs. And I was able to help people get unstuck around chaos and crisis. I was able to help them in, like my second book talks about going from suck to success. And the suck comes from how we talk to ourselves and our itty bitty shitty committee in our head, and how I was able to pivot them, a lot of CEOs from there. And the happy byproduct of that is I've literally doubled my coaching practice. And with the time I had that I wasn't on planes and airports and traveling, which I love, I was able to finish my second book. So I really looked for within the COVID situation, where's the opportunity within that tragedy? So my business is very, very different in honestly a very short period of time.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's amazing. There's a few things you talked about that I think are so critical for people to understand and take away from this. Is that um, I like the idea of improving lives, right? That's part of what you're trying to do. Within that came two different things that you mentioned. Number one is being a servant leader, right? And a lot of times that's really what it's all about. Is just being that servant leader, and even volunteering your time and doing those things, like things are going to start falling into place when you're following your purpose, your, in this case, improving lives, right? The other thing too is that I hear a lot of people always talking about the economy, who's going to be in the office, COVID, whatever, right? All these external factors, and then they use those external factors as an excuse not to take action in or do something about their situation. You
For
decided to
sure,
say, you know
absolutely.
what, right? You're like, man, this is going on. It's an external factor that I cannot control, and so what can I do to pivot that and change that? And that's exactly what you did, right?
Oh, that's exactly what I did. And I talk about it in the book where I call it the E4 process. The first step in the 4 steps is to recognize the mindset that I have and what's not working about it. So for me, my mindset was, for a couple of days, I was very bummed out. I mean, I'm not going to,
Yeah.
lie to you. It's like, yeah, it was disappointing. Well, the reality was being disappointed wasn't working for me. Being disappointed and having my itty bitty party wasn't getting me back to where I wanted to go. What I enjoyed most was just talking to entrepreneurs and helping coach people to get to the lives they want. So I decided, okay, that doesn't work for me. Well, where could I go? How could I get my message out there? And so then I created an intention, not an expectation. That's the second step. And in that intentional mindset, scientifically, so I still use a coach. My coach is a
Hmm.
neuroscientist. And he says, when you access the front part of your brain, the higher cerebral cortex, you're in a creative mindset. And the way to get there is with intention, not expectation. Expectation is win or lose. So going back to my mindset that wasn't working, I lost. I was supposed to be on stage. I did my work. COVID wiped me out, and I'm angry, pissed off, and upset. Makes sense. Well, that doesn't work. So let's be intentional, not to have expectation of what we do want. Third step is to create a strategy around that intention, and the fourth step is to create massive action and accountability around that strategy. Try things that may work, try things that may not work. Recognize that failure is a false construct, and then if we try something and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean we failed or we're failures. We tried something and it didn't work. I mean, if you came to my house and I cooked for you, you'd say, dude, you should try something like ordering out. You stink at cooking, but I love to do it, right? So it's learning what we can do with what we've been given. And ultimately, the mindset for me with COVID became COVID's happening for me, not to me. And I certainly recognize there are entrepreneurs out there and leaders out there who COVID has maybe decimated their restaurant, decimated their service business, or really impacted them. And I would challenge them to think about, why did you get into the restaurant business? And could you go into catering? Could you go into online food prep? Could you go into cooking classes? Could you go, because I talked to one restaurant, because like restaurateur, he's like, I love taking care of people. I love that. And I show my love. He just calls it love through his food. Worked with him. His catering business is crushing it. He's doing more online orders than he'd ever, because he put out a video. He communicated his passion. He talked about what was happening. He didn't go hide. He didn't go, have this pity party that lasted for months and months and months. He pivoted into what his new reality was. And his new reality was, I can't open my doors. I can't welcome people into my establishment, but I can still send my love out through my food in a different way. And that's what he did.
Yeah, this reminds me of one thing that I tell people, and really comes down to, it was, I think this is an example of a reality check, right? And what I mean by that is that besides that reality check is like, I think many people were stuck in the idea of, I'm working for profits, I'm not working for purpose, right? So
Oh, sure,
you're
sure.
right.
Yeah.
So when you start working for purpose, again, you're going to pivot and you're going to change. You're going to do whatever you have to do. You're going to modify your business model or your ideas to be able to continue to deliver that purpose, right? And so to me, it's like, when this whole thing started, and it seems like it was just yesterday, right? When this whole thing started, I remember people complain about, I don't have enough time to work on myself and go to the gym. I don't have enough
Yep.
time to be with the family. I don't have time to, and the list goes on and on and on and on, right? And then this hit, and then people were kind of forced to go and work from home, or some people got laid off, right? And here's the thing that I want to challenge people with is that if you come out of this COVID, and obviously we're still in the middle of it, but either way, if you even by this point, if you're coming out of this without any new skills or any new anything, it wasn't a lack of time; it was a lack of discipline, right? And so that's another thing too, that people tend to make an excuse and confuse the time with the discipline, the actions, the habits, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that. So what I always challenge people to do is if you don't know what your purpose and passion is, and a lot of people don't, it took me decades to figure that out. Go through the process called Ikigai. And it's, for those who are listening, it's IKAGAI. It's chapter 2 of my book. And it helps people to understand what their purpose and passion is, not only what they do well, but what the marketplace needs and where they can get paid for it. And once you figure that out, you will have a whole lot more discipline and accountability for because now you're not just focused on surviving, not just focused on money, you're focused on a real purpose and passion. Now the Ikigai model that I ascribe to has offshoots to it. So because you can get so close to it where it kind of feels good, which it doesn't get you out of bed every morning. Ultimately, the Ikigai needs to get you out of bed every day. And what I found, and this is what a lot of my clients do, is I have them go through this exercise and this process, is as their coach, when they don't do something that's in alignment with the Ikigai, they're out of alignment with their purpose and passion. We talk about what's holding them back. We talk about why they made those choices, why they made those decisions, why they didn't go to the gym if they're concerned about health and fitness, why they didn't show up to a meeting. Because you get this a lot from a CEO, entrepreneur. I'm my own boss because I don't want a boss. Totally get that. I am the same way. I had to show up on time for our interview today. Why did I show up on time for our interview today? Because it ties into my Ikigai of improving lives. I'm not going to blow this off. I will be here. That's how it if you know your purpose and your passion, you know your Ikigai, being accountable will be a lot easier. If there's a disconnect in there, that's the value of having a coach, having a mastermind to help you see blind spots that maybe are holding you back.
Yeah. One thing that I like about your E4 process, it definitely, I like the whole mindset, intention, strategy, and all that stuff. Two things that really stand out right now for me is that mindset. And I think that the mindset, even going through what we're going through, it comes down to having that thick mindset, right? We're going to go through ups and downs, even as entrepreneurs or people that are in this space and have been working a lot on self-development. You're still going to have your down moments. The difference between myself and somebody else is that I might be able to get up way faster than somebody else because I have put in the work. I have been working on my mind. I had coaches, I have mentors, I have people that I can reach that can help me and lift me a lot faster. So that's number one. I think I empower everybody to really start looking at and educating the mind in many different aspects, from the things that you see, from the things that you hear, from the things or the people that you talk to, right? The second thing is the accountability. I didn't think about that, but you're right. I mean, we are as our own CEOs or entrepreneurs. If we do not have that level of accountability, we're not going to get shit done. We're not going to get stuff done, right? We're going to be late. We're not going to do this. We're going to procrastinate, all that stuff. So that's another one that I like about that is accountability. And the last thing where I do believe people tend to, and this happened to me before too, is that you have this nice game plan, this strategy, all these things you want to do, but then you don't take action, right? You don't take immediate action. And sometimes some action is better than no action, even if it's very minimal, right?
That's such a great point because I hear this a lot from my clients. When I feel motivated, I will take action. The brain science completely debunks all that. Motivation is a secondary byproduct of action taken. It just is. And I agree with you. Take a small step. Take a step. So working with a client right now who's trying to get in better physical condition, more health and fitness focused for 2021. So he goes, I'm going to buy a mirror. I'm going to do this. And he's in a part of the country where you can still visit the gym. I said, dude, you have one goal. Get up and go to the gym. Because once you get there, you're going to take action. And then you're going to see the results. You're going to feel better. Your brain chemistry is going to fire differently. And you will become, you'll replace he really enjoys his sweets. You're going to replace your addiction to sweets with an addiction to the dopamine firing when you show up to the gym. But you've got to show up. So now we have this program where it's part of my 5 positives mindset, where the first thing he does is he texts me heading to the gym. If I haven't heard from him by like 8 a.m. East Coast time, like, dude, are you going to the gym? I'm just getting there. I'm just starting because my job is to hold him accountable. And I'm holding him accountable. I think this is what the real value of a coach is. I'm holding him accountable not to what I think he should do, not to what I want for him. I'm holding him accountable to the goals he set for himself, the goals he set for his health. That's an internal choice. And I always say to my clients, you can change your goals anytime you want, anytime. Just tell me. So I don't stop asking you, and I can stop bugging you about did you go to the gym or not. If you decide, hey, I'm not going to the gym and I'm going to buy a $1,200 mirror and I'm going to exercise against a two-dimensional image, that's fine too. Just tell me what your new goal is.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that you have here is that anyone can create a life by design. Tell me more about that and how that comes into this whole idea.
So, yeah, a life by design was there's a program out of Stanford University. And in that program, they really talk about that we can really go out and build the life we want. And to understand how to do it is that actually they put it through like an engineering type of process of all things. And so the first step is to get curious. And someone's like, well, of course I'm curious. I want to be, I want to be a speaker. Great. So I'm going to get curious. I'm going to read a lot about being a speaker. What are the highs? What are the lows? What are the ups and the downs? What are the income possibility? How many years do you go hungry before you quote unquote, make it big? I want to be a speaker. So then you go out. The second step in the life by design process is you go talk to people that are already doing it. You beta test this out. Third step is based upon all the info you've gathered. And if you're still fired up about it and you still want to do it, then you take the leap and you try stuff. You try it. So I was a CEO for, 25 years. And I was burned out for a lot of different reasons. And I always had this interest in coaching. So 15 years into being a CEO, I started coaching my peers and my friends for free. I coached for free, I kid you not, for over 13 years. And I tried stuff and I got curious. And then I talked to other people who did coaching. I hired a coach so I could be the example. I could be the Luke Skywalker to Yoda, so to speak. And we did all that. And I tried a bunch of different coaching platforms. I kept what worked and I got rid of what didn't work for me. Ultimately, I've landed in a spot that I kind of have a uniqueness is my coaching helps leaders get unstuck around mindset, around action, and around profitability and execution. That's what I do. I don't teach a process. There's a process called EOS. There's a process called scaling up for businesses. Both great processes. I use those processes, but that's not what I do. The EOS coaches and the scaling up coaches bring me in when they have a CEO, a leader who's hired them. They've paid the money for the process and they're not starting the process. They're not doing the process. Something's holding them back. There's a law of avoidance going on. That's where I come in. That's where my magic comes in and I help get them unstuck. It took me almost 15, 16, 17 years to get to that point. Then once I got to that point, then I went out and I stopped being a full-time CEO and I started doing this.
Yeah. I want to tell me a little bit about that, right? I think we tend to believe that we can get something overnight, and you're talking about here 10, 15 years, 20 years, right? Doing this and doing it and obviously putting in the place you're in now. What is the message there though, right? I mean, for you, what would you tell people that want things now, fast, this moment, the second? I mean, it takes time, it takes process, right? And yes, it's different for every single person, right? Some people might get in a month or two, some might get in 5 or 6 years. The point of that though is that there's really, in my opinion, there's really no, you shouldn't be putting a timeline to something. Yes, you can have strategies and ideas and things of that nature, but you got to work on your craft, right? And so what is your message on that?
Well, it goes back to intention and expectation. My intention is I want to be a great coach. I just don't want to be a good coach. I want to be a great coach. Well, if I have the expectation, I'm going to take 3 classes and over a year, I'm going to be great. I'm setting myself up to fail. Greatness is 10,000 hours. Greatness is trial and error. Greatness is making mistakes. When people hire a coach, they'll often say, well, I'm paying you X dollars for 1 hour of your time. And the reality is, at least in my case, you're paying me X dollars for an hour of my time that you're going to enjoy and get and receive value from. It took me 30 years to get here. When you go to a concert, right, you see a great musician like Sting. Sting was a teacher. He was a jazz musician. He was in the Police, and then he was a solo careerist. You're going to see him for 90 minutes, and we pay $200 for a ticket. Yeah, you're paying for that hour, but you're paying for that accumulation of that body of work. the hits, the new songs, the virtuosity of who he is as a performer and an artist. No different if you hire the right coach. It's the people who say, I want to become a coach and I have no real life experience. I want to be a business coach and I've never run a company. I've never had to hire people. I've never had to fire people. I've never had to put my own money into a business. That type of coach might serve a certain audience well. It's not the audience I want to serve well. I want to work with the entrepreneurs who've got skin in the game, who have a hero's journey they want to go on, and I'm the guide of that journey to get them where they want to go. And a lot of the work I do with them is through my experience, through the clients that I've worked with. It's not just, I saw an online course, I signed up and put my $500 in and got taught how to be a coach in 10 lessons or less.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Let me ask you this, in terms of changing, maybe did you change any habits or daily things you were doing with this whole COVID, or what are your daily habits to keep you going?
Great question. So I did change my habits. Absolutely. The first habit I changed was on mornings I woke up and I didn't feel like myself. And so I'm down, I'm feeling blue, I'm feeling defeated. I spent a lot of time reading about how within tragedies, within downtimes, how do we get out of it? So I read stuff from Sean Aker. I read Viktor Frankl. I studied James Stockdale and the Stockdale Paradox. And every one of those themologies came back to me as, if I'm feeling low, I'm feeling down, I'm not feeling like myself, the first job I have to do is first recognize it, validate my internal behavior. Second, be of service to other people, which to me felt very counterintuitive at the time, of like, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Well, when we're of service to other people, we are accessing different parts of our brain. And when we access those different parts of our brain and we are of service to other people, we get engaged and we actually end up psychologically firing off different chemicals and feeling better about ourselves versus, well, when's someone going to take care of me? I know it feels very counterintuitive, but that's the first thing I did. So every morning, especially, I'd say March through July of 2020, I would reach out to 5 people and ask how I could be, how are they doing? Not, oh, by the way, I'm asking you how you're doing so I can tell you how awful I'm feeling. No, how are you doing? People were so grateful. And that it allowed me to express gratitude and appreciation for them. And through gratitude, ultimately the two things were gratitude and appreciation. Now, I did confront my brutal reality. And then through that gratitude and that appreciation, I realized and doubled down on somehow, some way, COVID is happening for me, not to me. And it will be a defining moment of my coaching, business, speaking journey. And I continue to reinforce that every day.
Wow, no, I love that. I definitely love that. Recognize it and be servant to others. And again, we go back to that, right? I think it was Zig Ziglar said, if you give enough people what they want, you will get what you want, right? And so it's kind of like that concept, just be a servant, give people what they need, and it'll come back to you one way or the other, right?
Well, word of mouth is powerful advertising. So that's as well. And I think too, I believe that, we can have slick marketing, we can have all the greatest pictures and diagrams and all the great collateral, which a lot of us do. I think at the end of the day, when you hire a coach or you hire a speaker, there's got to be a certain sense of authenticity that lands with the audience. And that comes from conversation. And when I was talking to those 42 CEOs in 67 days, I was having human-to-human connections, human-to-human conversations. I was probably talking to people that I couldn't get on the phone during normal times, right? And in that authenticity, their central nervous system fires up. They have a feeling about the connection and the conversation that we're having. People make buying decisions not on logic. People make buying decisions on how we make them feel. People make buying decisions on the value and service we provide to them and how they feel about us. There were people that I was of service to who never hired me as a coach, and that's fine. It wasn't the reason of doing it. But they had such a good feeling of our conversation. They've referred me to people who did need a coach. They've referred me to people who are looking for a speaker. That was the blessing. They became like this evangelizing army for me because I served them first.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Todd, where can people find you?
So the best place to find me is at my website, extraordinaryadvisors.com. My second book will be coming out in February of 2021, From Suck to Success, A Guide to Extraordinary Entrepreneurship. And what I'd like to offer anybody who's listening today is this. If I said something that landed with you and you think that a conversation with me would be of service to you, please give me that opportunity. Reach out to me at my email, todd@extraordinaryadvisors.com. I'm happy to give you 30 minutes for free. We're gonna start giving away the first chapter of the book coming up in a couple of weeks, so people can take a look at that, because it's really all about giving some content to people that would give value to them. And so please reach out, and by all means mention that you heard me on Caesar's show, so I can give him a shout back and thank him for the generosity he's shown me today.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. So make sure you guys check him out. Todd, anything else that you can leave us? Maybe one last golden nugget. If people are going through some challenging times right now, whatever that might be, what is one thing that you can leave them that they can start implementing to start shifting that?
Well, what I would challenge people that can think about, especially if they're thinking that, they're not getting the life they want, they're not getting the business they want, they're even not getting the family they want. I would challenge them to understand and recognize that a lot of what we want, we can get from changing our mindset. For me, this is what my coach Danny Friedland has taught me: going from a fixed mindset of win-lose expectations to a growth mindset of intentionality has helped me create an extraordinary life for myself and for my clients. I've got one client, his business is up 70% revenue, profits are up 500% because he's pivoted his mindset. So you can live in an extraordinary life. And if you think about the word extraordinary, it's a singular word. It's a special word. It's not universal. So an extraordinary life for Caesar is going to be different than an extraordinary life for Todd. Because when you live an extraordinary life, it's singular. You define your own version of success. You have an interactive, iterative attitude with how you cope with failure. And you are able to realize extreme self-actualization. So to live an extraordinary life is a inside-out leadership journey that I would challenge anybody to consider taking.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely love that. And it comes down to, again, how you see things. Maybe if it's not working out for you, change the lens, change the way you look at it. Start thinking about, like in your case, COVID is not happening to you, it's happening for you, or whatever the case may be, right? You start looking at it from different perspective, and then different ideas are going to start coming out into your space. So no, I love that. So Todd, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all of these golden nuggets, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure of mine to be here.
Yeah, definitely. For the rest of you guys, make sure that you connect with Todd, get his book coming out pretty soon, and stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.